Welcome to Truth Uncovered, and a world where noise rules. Silence reigns. In this space, we don't speak just to be heard. We speak when it matters, and sometimes it's the most powerful thing you'll ever say. It's nothing at all. Today's video will pierce through a truth most ignore. That silence isn't empty. It's full of meaning. This isn't just a tactic. This isn't manipulation. This is mastery. A stoic form of self-control. A psychological shift that redefines who holds the power in your relationships. So if you've ever been dismissed, misunderstood, or underestimated, you've ever felt the pain of explaining yourself to someone who didn't deserve the explanation, this video is for you. Let's dive into what really happens. When you stop speaking, start owning your power. Because when you say nothing, you say everything. One. She expected a reaction. You gave her stillness. She threw the words, the accusations, the tests, the emotional grenades. Not because she wanted the truth, but because she wanted a reaction in a world saturated with over-explanation and knee-jerk emotions. Stillness is a shock to the system. She expected resistance, expected you to plead, to apologize, to prove yourself. Because that's what most men do. They get loud when they're hurt, they text or graphs at 2:13 a.m. They defend their honor in hopes of being seen, understood, valued. But every word they utter in desperation chips away at their D. Framed. You, on the other hand, did the unimaginably. You said nothing. Not to punish, not to manipulate, but because you had nothing to prove. You didn't yell. You didn't correct the narrative. You didn't feed the fire she set. You left her standing in a silence so loud it echoed back her own behavior. And that silence became a mirror. It wasn't indifference. It wasn't revenge. It was a declaration of self-respect. She didn't know how to handle that because the man who doesn't flinch is the man who can't be controlled. Two. Silence is the language of power. A man who has mastered his silence isn't just strong. He's untouchable. He doesn't speak to seek validation. He speaks when it aligns with purpose. Because the loudest man in the room isn't the most powerful. The quiet one who sees all, hears all, but reacts to nothing. He is the one with the true upper hand. When you go silent, you break her rhythm. Suddenly, she doesn't know what you're thinking. She doesn't know if you're hurt. She doesn't know if you still care. That ambiguity becomes your leverage. And let's be clear, this isn't about playing games. It's about detaching from chaos. Because silence isn't the absence of sound, it's the presence of self. You're no longer speaking because you want to be heard. You're silent because you've already heard enough. You've seen enough. You've felt enough, and now you've moved into a place. She cannot follow a place of emotional sovereignty. Three. Stillness reveals more than speaking ever could. She wanted to argue, to get a rise out of you, to validate her chaos by provoking yours. But what happens when her drama gets met with nothing? No reaction, no explanation, no breakdown, just stillness. Now she's left alone, not just physically. Her usual script doesn't work anymore. She can't twist the narrative. Can't paint herself as the victim because you're not playing the villain. You've stepped off the stage entirely, and that's where truth creeps in. Without your emotional participation, she is now faced with a version of herself she can't distract from. Her chaos stands alone, unfiltered, unopposed, uncomfortable, and your silence. It becomes a spotlight. One. That exposes everything words tried to hide. Four. Your attention was a gift. She mistook it for entitlement in the beginning. You gave freely, time, presence, effort, attention. Not because she earned it, but because it's who you are. And that was the mistake. Not your generosity, but the lack of boundaries surrounding it. She thought your attention was unlimited. She thought your energy had no cost. She thought your presence was default. But now she feels the absence of what she once took for granted. Your energy is no longer directed toward her drama. Your focus is on your purpose, your body, your growth, and that shift. It terrifies her, because once a woman realizes your attention was a gift hand, not an obligation, she has to confront what she did to lose it. You didn't retreat to manipulate. You retreated to reclaim. Your emotional economy is now guarded, and the investment has stopped. Now she understands your attention was never free. It was given. And now it's gone. 5. Your calm is her chaos. She could deal with your anger. She could navigate your pain. She could weaponize your vulnerability. But your calm, that she can't decode, because your calm isn't numbness's transcendence. You're no longer reactive. You no longer orbit around her moods, her patterns, her power plays. You're grounded, stable, unmoved. She thought your silence was temporary, that it was a tactic, a test, a phase. But now she's realizing this isn't a timeout. This is freedom, emotional. It's freedom. Psychological freedom, spiritual freedom, and that realization breaks her, because a man who finds peace without her is a man she can no longer control. 6. The stoic man doesn't announce he evolves you. Didn't ghost her. You outgrew her. You didn't block her out of bitterness. You cut the cord of dependency. She expected closure. The long, drawn-out text. The final speech. The "I just wanted you to know, moment." But stoic men don't give exit monologues. They just exit. While she waited for a storm, you became the calm after it. You redirected your energy from reaction to reinvention. Your silence isn't absence. It's arrival into a better version of you. No announcements, no declarations, just elevation, and now. Your silence says everything. You no longer define yourself by her presence, but your absence now defines her reality. 7. She thought silence was punishment, but it was the end. Let's make one thing very clear. Silence is not punishment. Punishment is driven by anger. This is finality. The end of the conversation, the end of trying, the end of explaining your worth to someone who never listened. She doesn't know how to reach you now. Not because you're hiding, but because you've outgrown the need to be found. You're not bitter. You're not cold. You're simply done. You found peace, not the peace she offered, not the peace she manipulated, but the kind of peace that can't be broken because it wasn't built on her in the first place. And that's the transformation. That's what stoicism looks like. In the real world, that's what makes your silence so powerful. Outro, the call to action that hits deep. You've ever begged to be understood? If you've ever twisted yourself to explain your heart to someone who refused to listen, then hear this. Your silence is not avoidance. Your silence is evolution. It's you stepping out of the emotional of war. It's you refusing to bleed. For someone who brought the knife, it's you returning to yourself. And now, you're no longer reactive. You're no longer available for drama. You're not part of her narrative anymore. You don't need to speak to be seen, because your silence is the loudest thing in the room. If this message resonated with you, don't be silent here. Drop a comment, hit that like button, subscribe for more truth, stoicism, and psychological power, and share this with a man who's ready to reclaim his peace without ever raising his voice. Because at the end of the day, when you say nothing, you say everything. And here at Truth Uncovered, silence isn't a tactic, it's transformation.